Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making some more creamsicles, and it's going to be rhubarb, blueberry, and currant. And so let's get started and I'll show you how you do this. Now just to be clear, I don't have really solid measurements that I use. I just put everything in a blender and just blend it up, and I'll taste it as I go and see what it needs, if I need a little bit more of this or a bit more of that. But I'm going to try to show you, at least give you a rough idea. And just so you know, this is also why I started doing YouTube videos, because people always wanted written instructions, and a lot of my recipes I don't have them written down. They're just in my head and I just throw them together, and I don't follow any set measurements. And with my creamsicles, that's exactly what I do. I don't use set measurements. So I have several recipes out for creamsicles and other types of frozen treats, and I'll go ahead and link to the playlist right up here if you want to check those out. So let's get going on this, and at least maybe I can give you a good idea of how to start. So basically you just want to choose whatever is your favorite fruit or fruit blends that you think sound good. So I have some fresh picked blueberries and currants. Obviously I get a lot more blueberries right now than do currants, because the currants are my newest plants, you know, or newer than my blueberries, that is. And I'm going to pour in about 2 cups of that. And then I'm going to add in, it looks like it's going to be about a cup now that it's been frozen and thawed. Now I'm wanting to use the frozen rhubarb. So if you remember, about a month or so ago, I did a video on how I preserve rhubarb. Typically what I like to do is freeze it up and then use it in things like this, or when I'm making jams. Because the other thing I'm going to do is make a blueberry currant rhubarb jam or syrup. I haven't decided which. I may just make it, in which however it turns out, that's how I'll use it. And anyway, so when I had this filled up with the fresh rhubarb, it was clear to the top. But since it was frozen and now thawed, it's softened, and you can see now it only is taken up a little better than a cup. I could pick it fresh right out of the garden, but for something like this, having it pre-frozen means it's already softened it up. It's going to blend a lot easier that way. So another reason I like to freeze my rhubarb. So, and it's still raw. And so that makes it really good. Now, something like this is a good time to use your raw honey. The only thing about using raw honey in something like this is it doesn't blend quite as well as using like a coconut sugar or organic cane sugar. So I'm going to be using those. Consider the fact that currants and rhubarb are both pretty tart. So you're going to want to add at least a little bit of sugar, because the blueberries may not have enough sweetness to them to counteract that. I usually do this anyway because I'm going to be adding some organic half and half to it to give it its creamsicleness. Now you can also just use heavy whipping cream if you want. That's another good option. It's going to make it more creamy yet. So you're going to want at least a little bit of sugar in there. And I would say maybe a 1/4 cup of each of the cane sugar and the coconut sugar, or you can use all of just one. Use a 1/2 cup of just one of the sugars. Just keep in mind that if you're going to use just coconut sugar, it's not as sweet as your cane sugar, so you may need to use a little bit more of it if you decide to use just that. The other thing I'm going to try in this one is, I've been really happy with my extracts, my homemade extracts, is I'm going to go ahead and add some raspberry extract to that. In fact, sitting out here right now, I had the freeze-dried Mother Earth raspberries that, you know, I use the Mother Earth products. I always link to them below. You can get 10% off your order if you go through that particular link. But anyway, I want to get another raspberry extract going. And if you're interested in my extract making video, I did one last year where I was actually at the time experimenting, and all of the fruit ones turned out great, and the coffee and the chocolate. I'll go ahead and link to those up here. So I've been using them all more and more and finding more uses for them. So right here I have a sour cherry one that's looking really good and tastes wonderful. And I've got my homemade wine and the raspberries in the jars. I'm going to be starting another of each, the cherry and the raspberry, and then I'm also going to be adding glycerin, the food grade glycerin, to those. So anyway, go check out that video if you're interested. So to my blender, I'm going to go ahead and add about 1 tablespoon of my extract, raspberry. So that will just give it a little bit more flavor, especially to, you know, since I'm adding the whipping cream, you want just something in there to give it a little bit more flavor. So, or it's not whipping cream, I'm using half and half. It's just easier that way. Okay, so what I do is I just pour it in there. So you notice I put probably about a total of 3 cups of fruit in there. And then I just pour the half and half in there until it comes up, it covers the fruit. Well, you can see the rhubarb sticking out, but it's just piled up there. So basically it's covered. And then I'm gonna put my lid on and blend it. Okay, that looks pretty smooth. You just want to let it blend until it looks real smooth. It doesn't look like you have any chunks in there. And then at this point, you can do a taste test and see if maybe you want to add a little bit more sugar or a little bit more of your half and half or whipping cream if you decide to use that, or even some extract. That is really good. However, it's pretty tart. So I'm going to add a little bit more coconut sugar in it to counteract that tartness. I like it just as is, but since Mr. Rain is the one that typically eats the popsicles or the creamsicles, I think I should try to curb that tartness just a little bit. Because currants, like I said, currants are pretty tart on their own. And then as is the rhubarb. Okay, really good. And what I also did that you wouldn't have seen because I did it after I started the blender, is that I added about another tablespoon of the raspberry extract, and the flavor is excellent. So initially I had about a half cup of sugar, and then I added another 1/8 cup, I would say, maybe up to a 1/4 cup. So there could be tops 3/4 cups of sugar in there. And I wouldn't think you would need any more of that. And again, that's with the coconut sugar mostly. I used more of this than I did the cane sugar, and it's, like I said, not quite as sweet as the cane sugar. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you're either going to take some little 1/2 pint jars like this, or I'll show you another thing. These recycled glasses are super nice. They're very heavy. I love these things, and these work really good for this too. So you can either use like a mason jar that's a 1/2 pint, or get you some glasses like these. We found these at our local nursery. I got them a few years ago, and they're still selling them. I just think they're great. Nice heavy glasses, and they're made from recycled glass. And so those work great for that. Or you can get yourself some of these popsicle holders. They're plastic, but at least they're BPA free, and I think they're phthalate free as well. And these are really nice. They're really handy. These are the easiest way to eat it. But with these, you either let it freeze to a point where it's really thick and then eat it with a spoon, or just let it freeze hard, and then when you're ready for it, pull it out, and then you just you can let it thaw a little bit. It won't take long, and then you can just eat it with a spoon like that. So anyway, I'm hoping I actually have extra. Typically what I do is I'll fill up the popsicle molds, and I'll link to these popsicle molds below. I think they're still available. I know this brand has made all kinds of different fancy ones, but I think these simple ones like this are the best. And I actually found these ones at our local store for a really decent price. I think it was probably the same price, or even in our remote town. A lot of times I can find good deals on stuff locally, So look at your local store. And if your local store doesn't have it, then you can go through my Amazon link and get them if you're interested. I like these because what you have is you have these little sleeves that sit down into this base, and I forgot to show you before I filled them up. So there's just a little sleeve like that, and instead of it being totally attached to the base, and then you put your sticks in there, and if I see a little bit gushing out, then that's fine. That tells me I got it plenty full enough, because if you don't get it full enough, there's not enough for it to grab onto. It just makes it a little bit messier. So these two didn't have any gushing out, but they should still be fine. And then you let them freeze completely. And then when you're ready, I'll go ahead and once these are done, I'll take a couple pictures and I'll put them here. But then once you're ready, you just pull it out of the mold, and once they're totally hard, and then you just kind of warm them up in your hands until you can slide that sleeve right off of there. And then you got yourself a tasty popsicle that's good for you, your kids, your grandkids, or whoever. Now, what I have here is I have some excess, so I can simply fill up either one of these with whatever's left, and that will become, typically what happens is I'll eat the ones out of the glass, and then Patrick will eat the popsicles. I rarely ever eat the popsicles, but if there's one in a glass, then I'll eat it. I usually make these for Patrick, so to me, I just take whatever the extra is. And it's a about, other than the added sugar, and especially, and if you're going with the coconut sugar or the honey, if you can get it to blend well. I haven't actually tried using honey that I can recall in a frozen treat, you know, like this, to see how well it will blend. But the coconut sugar is definitely going to be healthier yet than the organic cane sugar. And now you've got yourself a pretty healthy frozen treat. Or you can drink it just like this. It's actually really good. But we do like to freeze these up for, especially in the summertime, so you have a nice cold treat on a hot day. Also, don't forget to check out my playlist for more ideas. There's so many ways you can do this. If you like coconut, coconut is an excellent ingredient to throw in there, especially if you do something like pineapple, banana, and coconut, or pineapple, mango, and coconut, or banana, mango, coconut. Really good options, so many different things. The very first popsicle video I did, or creamsicle video I did, I just took a jar of some plums that I had canned, and they were the flavor grenades. Oh, those flavor grenades, they're not really a plum, they're a plout, and those make really, really good creamsicles. That was the very first one I did, so the video is dark, but I do show several other options, even showing how to make your own fudgesicles using some organic cacao powder in there. And I need to make some of those soon too. Those are so good. They taste better than the store-bought fudgesicles, and they're actually healthy. They got healthy ingredients in it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I give you some ideas for some healthy treats that you can make for yourself and for your family this summer. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.